Hey, 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 welcome to On The Fringe. I'm Gavin, and I'm here with Dave. And today we're talking about a long time story, or I guess it seems like it's been a long time, Dave. It really hasn't been.
Well, I guess from
Today,
the beginning of the season,
from the beginning, which hasn't been that long,
which hasn't
from
been
the
yet,
beginning,
3 months.
it's been a couple months, 3 months. Uh, we're talking about the Board of Peace. And this was you've said this in the notes, Dave, and I think you're very correct. This started off really as the big story for this season. We thought when we started the season off, we went, this is going to be one of the big stories for the rest of the year. This, of course, was Donald Trump's basically UN alternative, international organization designed to safeguard peace, basically spun off from a scheme to rebuild the Gaza Strip. And we're just going to call it right now. The Board of Peace is dead.
More like the Board of Rest in Peace, I would say, or the Board
The
of
Board of Rest
Pieces.
in Peace, which is absolutely going to be the title of this episode. It's a very good title, and it is correct. The Board of Peace was big news, I would say, for really about a month. And then the war in Iran happened. US and Israel began the campaign against Iran. Iran retaliated against the Gulf states and Israel. And we're now in a situation, and that conflict continues to expand, even though we're in the middle of a ceasefire. Um, Basically, that conflict has wiped out the Board of Peace. And Dave, do you just want to touch briefly on why that's the case?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to what we said in the first episode about this. You've got to follow the money.
Hmm.
And the Board of Peace is not getting funding like it was intended to get. And there's really only been how much? The countries that were going to be on the Board of Peace, there were 27 official members that were going to join, and they had
Yeah.
pledged, I think it was about 16 billion or something like that, if I can remember correctly. And most of the money initially was going to come from the Gulf states, so the UAE, Saudi, Qatar, and Kuwait, and they were going to contribute about $4 billion, a little over $4 billion each, to get this
Hmm.
thing going. And right now, these countries are not focused on the Board of Peace. They're not focused on Gaza. They're focused on their own national security from a war going on in Iran right now and trying to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. So if you look at what's going on in Gaza, nothing has really changed in the last 6 months. And very likely for the future, nothing is probably going to change either because the Board of Peace was going to be actually setting up an international stabilization force to start rebuilding Gaza. And that's not going to happen now, really, is it, Gavin?
Absolutely not. Again, the countries that had pledged for that, Kosovo, Albania, Indonesia, Morocco. Am I missing one? Those were the main four.
Kazakhstan was going to contribute a little bit,
Kazakhstan.
but
Kazakhstan was
I
going
don't
to
think
send a few
much.
people. No, it was a nominal amount. That's not happening. That's the politest way of putting it. That's not happening. Indonesia's had enough issues with UN peacekeepers in Lebanon coming under fire. They, I think, have recognized that domestically there's absolutely no appetite at the moment without backing from a major power, in this case, the US. The US is just, again, this was an American-led initiative. American political focus is just not anywhere near Gaza at the moment. And I suspect it won't be for a while. Because of that, this is just falling apart. And again, to go back to the Gulf, that was the source of the money, essentially, and the money's not there. The funds that had probably been put aside to support this initiative are not going to be put to fund this initiative. And I think, the key way of measuring how dead this thing is a very simple metric. No one is talking about it. There was so much fanfare before February 28th, and since February 28th, I have not heard really anything about this. It has just dropped like the proverbial hot potato, and it is nowhere to be seen. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens, but as of right now, this is one of those sort of mysteries of history. What would have happened if this thing had gone full steam ahead? And my suspicion is right now, we'll probably never know.
Yeah, and I went and grabbed my tinfoil hat while Gavin was on his little rant over there. And I think that if Trump wanted to really, quote, drain the swamp and affect the institutions globally, this was the way to do it. And essentially, he torpedoed the whole entire thing by starting the
Yeah.
war in Iran. And I think had he gotten this going first and then potentially done something with Iran, I don't have any sort of intelligence on terms of what the Iranians are trying to do with their nuclear weapons program. But if this was a bigger priority, then I don't understand why he went in at the time that he did. But I
I
guess priorities change. Could be one
I
answer to that.
I think that's a very generous answer.
Yeah.
I think uh to be this is probably the politest I've ever said anything about that particular administration. I think the eye was not on the prize, and they're sort of dealing with the consequences of that. Again, they wouldn't have had if they had set this thing up and you had seen any kind of action from it. I think that would have been noteworthy.
Hmm.
I don't know if it would have been good, but I think it would have been noteworthy. And again, we commented at the time, it seemed like a legacy project. It seemed like something you were setting up for the future. And now, and really because of U.S. actions, I mean, I can't really put the finger on anyone else and say, oh, it was because these guys did something. Because of American actions, it just does not seem feasible at this point in time. None of the countries that were involved have the energy, time, or political willpower to invest in this project. And again, it seems like the American administration has more or less forgotten about it.
Yeah.
And it was not 2 months ago.
Yeah. It's just cast into the dustbin of what if with so many other things.
The abyss of history. Anyways, if you want to hear more about the dustbin of what if and the abyss of history, please tune in to On the Fringe. We appreciate all of our listeners. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you would like to hear more from On the Fringe. And Dave,
Yeah,
I think it's that time.
it is.
It's button
Thank you.
time.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.